On January 28, 2011, after DeShon informed me that he was being harassed by the police, I took DeShon to the Leon County Sheriff's Office and requested to speak with the lead detective investigating the murders in the Wolf Creek subdivision. Don Odham and two others responded to the lobby. Immediately, Don Odham was very racist towards DeShon and me. Don Odham refused to allow me to board the elevator with DeShon as they were taking DeShon away. When I invoked DeShon's Miranda rights, I was ignored. Hours later, when I was allowed to join DeShon in an interview room, DeShon and I were locked in the room and were being held against our will. When I complained about the treatment of DeShon and me, Don Odham told me to leave out of the Leon County Sheriff's Office. When I told DeShon to let's go, Don Odham told me that DeShon was not going anywhere, and then Don Odham forced me out of the Leon County Sheriff's Office. Many times during DeShon's trial, DeShon's court-appointed attorney, Regional Counsel Darren Shippey, as well as State Prosecutor Jack Campbell, referred to Don Odham as Detective Odham. Only a few times did State Prosecutor Jack Campbell call Don Odham a reserve deputy, that is, a volunteer deputy. Even if Don Odham was a volunteer deputy, Don Odham's actions leading to DeShon being charged with the two murders and possession of a firearm by a juvenile delinquent were unlawful, untruthful, unethical, and outside of the scope of a reserve deputy, outside of the scope of a volunteer deputy. All double murder cases deserve to be properly investigated. Too many times, murder investigations end up being less about the victims and more about law enforcement, prosecutors, and judges' egos and cover-up. On January 27, 2011, a mother called into dispatch to report having found her son and daughter deceased inside their residence located in the Wolf Creek Townhouse community. Leon County Sheriff Detective Don Odham was impersonating a law enforcement officer. Under the knowledge of Leon County Sheriff Larry Campbell, Sheriff Larry Campbell's son, Assistant State Attorney Jack Campbell, and possibly many other law enforcement officials. The deceased are 17-year-old Sterling Connor Jr. and his 20-year-old sister, Laqecia Herring, along with her unborn baby. Leon County Sheriff Detective Melinda McBride reports, upon arriving at the January 27, 2011 Wolf Creek double murder crime scene, I was informed by Sergeant Gainey that I would be lead detective on this investigation. Upon arriving at the Leon County Sheriff's Office from the crime scene, Detective McBride reports, LaShonda Perkins, the girlfriend of Miss Bush, states that she last seen Laqecia on Wednesday, January 26, 2011. While Laqecia and her were together, Laqecia received text messages from Ladidra. Ladidra and Laqecia had gotten into an argument over money. LaShonda advised that they had been doing that for about the past 4 days. Ladidra posted threats on Facebook, one stating, "I got a hit out for this bitch." Detective McBride asked LaShonda about Laqecia's relationship with DeShon. LaShonda stated that DeShon was not happy about Laqecia being pregnant, and Laqecia and DeShon spoke about an abortion. LaShonda stated that DeShon drove Laqecia to the abortion clinic. LaShonda advised that DeShon goes to Tallahassee Community College and works at Taco Bell. LaShonda advised that Sterling was involved in gang activity with DeShon. She is not sure but does not think that Sterling continued hanging out with DeShon after DeShon and Laqecia broke up. Sterling had recently gotten into a fight. Sterling had a lot of deep scratches on his neck from the fight. LaShonda does not know who Sterling had gotten into a fight with. LaShonda heard that Sterling was involved in gang activity with the Blood Gang. Upon arriving at the Leon County Sheriff's Office from the crime scene, Leon County Sheriff Detective Reeves reported Rontarius, the 16-year-old brother of the victims, and stated that Sterling owed him $30. Rontarius stated that he last spoke with Sterling on Tuesday, January 25, 2011. Rontarius also stated that he last seen and spoke with Laqecia on Wednesday, January 26, 2011. Rontarius states that DeShon did not want Laqecia to have the baby. When asked about DeShon and Sterling, Rontarius states that DeShon and Sterling used to be friends and make money together. Sterling stopped hanging around DeShon 2 or 3 months prior to the murders. In Detective Dennis's report with Miss Bush while at the crime scene, Miss Bush advised Laqecia was approximately 5 months pregnant. In the interview back at the Leon County Sheriff's Office, Miss Bush advised Detective Dennis that her younger son, Rontarius Connor, and Sterling Connor did not get along very well. They both have been diagnosed with bipolar. The residence where the homicides were committed was also that of Laqecia's siblings and mother. However, Laqecia's mother also lived with her girlfriend, LaShonda Perkins. Laqecia had moved away from the residence for nearly a month and had only been back at the residence for less than a week at the time of the homicides. Here, Miss Bush tells Detective Dennis that Sterling was not at the residence when she dropped Laqecia off. Miss Bush stated Sterling does as he pleases. Miss Bush stated that Ladidra, a friend of Laqecia's, had accused Laqecia of not paying $350 owed to Ladidra and Ladidra's mother for allowing her to stay there. Ladidra began saying nasty things about and threatening Laqecia on Facebook. On Tuesday, January 25, 2011, Ladidra was saying a lot of nasty stuff about Laqecia, so Laqecia ended up going over to Ladidra's house to talk to her about it. Laqecia never got out of the car. She knew this because Laqecia called her at around 1 a.m. telling her about the argument. She could overhear Ladidra cursing in the background. Miss Bush could not advise who took Laqecia to Ladidra's house or how she got home. She advised that she does know that Laqecia's cousin was with her. Laqecia called her around 3 o'clock in the morning to let her know that she was home and all right. In regards to Sterling, Ms. Bush stated that he was diagnosed as bipolar and had been out of school for a couple of months. Sterling had been arrested for threatening a lady with a pipe. Ms. Bush described Sterling as defiant. She tried to talk to him about hanging around the wrong people, but he continued to do what he wanted to do. Ms. Bush and her son Rontarius were swabbed for DNA and were tested for gunshot residue. Ms. Bush advised that Laqecia had been in a relationship with Antonio Brown for approximately 1 year prior to dating DeShon. Ms. Bush stated that she'd last seen Antonio Brown and Laqecia together a month earlier when Laqecia brought Brown over for dinner. Ms. Bush also stated that 2 weeks prior to the murders, Sterling told Laqecia that Mike, a friend of Sterling's, had broken into their house. This page from the CAD report is dated 2009. This call for service is in response to a theft that was reported by Laqecia Herring, referring to her mother having all the paperwork from a Social Security. Ladidra arrived at the crime scene. Detective Don Odham contacted Detective McBride. Detective McBride was advised that information was being gathered that she and Herring had apparently had an argument sometime prior to this incident. Detective McBride made contact with her and requested that she come to the sheriff's office to be interviewed. She willingly agreed. In Detective Gore's report with Miss Keaton, Ladidra's grandmother, on January 27, 2011, Miss Keaton advised that Laqecia had been staying with Ladidra and her mother. Laqecia and Ladidra had a disagreement. Miss Keaton last seen Laqecia on Friday, January 21, 2011. Laqecia had been complaining about everyone treating her like crap. Miss Keaton asked Laqecia about being on medication. Laqecia stated that she'd been prescribed medication through Appalachian Mental Health but could not take it due to being pregnant. Detective McBride reported Ladidra as stating that Laqecia and Laqecia's daughter moved in with her and her mother a day or so before Christmas 2010. Ladidra stated that Laqecia had claimed that her mother, Laqecia's mother, had been cheating her out of her money, charging her too much to live at the incident location. Ladidra then stated that Laqecia later told her that her mother kicked her out. When Laqecia was leaving, Ladidra's mother asked Laqecia if she was going to pay them like they'd agreed. Laqecia stated when she get her money and left. On Monday, January 24, 2011, Ladidra sent Laqecia a text asking about paying them. Laqecia responded telling her that she was not going to pay them anything. Ladidra stated that they somewhat argued through texting. Ladidra tried to call Laqecia, but Laqecia didn't answer the phone, but text no need to call her. Ladidra stated that on late Monday, January 24, 2011, or early Tuesday morning, January 25, 2011, Laqecia and her were were arguing, and Laqecia and some others came over to her house. Ladidra said she was very upset and was tired of them threatening her. Ladidra's mother intervened. Ladidra said that there was no fight. Ladidra said that she last heard from Laqecia on Wednesday, January 26, 2011, when she, Ladidra, texted Laqecia. Ladidra advised that Laqecia's previous boyfriend, June, was a drug dealer. Ladidra also heard about a guy that Sterling used to hang around had broke into their residence. Ladidra stated that Laqecia was pregnant from DeShon and that DeShon was a member of the gang Blood. Ladidra suspects that Sterling's history of drugs, burglaries, theft, etc. may have contributed to the incident. Detective Dennis reported Sequoia Sterling, Connor Jr.'s half-sister, the person who drove Laqecia to Ladidra's house to fight on Tuesday, January 25, 2011. Detective Dennis spoke with Sequoia on January 27, 2011. Sequoia stated that she last spoke with Sterling on January 25, 2011, around 2 p.m. Sequoia stated that she last saw Laqecia on Tuesday, January 25, 2011, during the morning when she dropped Laqecia off. Sequoia stated that Laqecia moved out of Ladidra's on January 21, 2011, because she got tired of staying there. Sequoia stated that on Monday, January 24, 2011, Laqecia told her about Ladidra wanting $400 from her for allowing her, Laqecia, to stay with her, Ladidra. Sequoia stated Laqecia was not giving Ladidra or Ladidra's mother anything. Sequoia stated that Ladidra had been sending text messages demanding the money and calling Laqecia's daughter retarded. Laqecia wanted to go to Ladidra's to fight with Ladidra. Laqecia got gas money to give Sequoia from Miss Bush's girlfriend, LaShonda Perkins. Sequoia then drove to pick up two of Laqecia's cousins, and they drove to Ladidra's house. Sequoia stated that Laqecia warned them that Ladidra's mother had a gun. Sequoia stated that when they got to Ladidra's house, approximately 8 people came outside. One man had a bat. Sequoia stated that everyone got out of the car except Laqecia. Ladidra tried to open the door to get Laqecia out of the car, but Laqecia had locked the doors. At that point, Sequoia decided that no one was going to fight. Laqecia was on the phone with her mother as Sequoia drove everyone home. Sequoia dropped Laqecia off at the incident location around 1:30 a.m. on the morning of Tuesday, January 25, 2011. In regards to DeShon, Sequoia only knew a little bit about him. Sequoia stated that she did not really care for DeShon. Sequoia knows that DeShon worked at Taco Bell. Sequoia stated that the last thing Laqecia told her was that she, Laqecia, was tricking DeShon, telling him that she was fixing to go to the clinic to get an abortion. Sequoia stated that DeShon got upset and told her that she, Laqecia, wasn't fixing to do that to his baby. In regards to Sterling, Sequoia stated that she tried to get Sterling to get out of that life before something like this happened. Detective reported on January 28, 2011, Sergeant Gainey assigned her to make contact with DeShon's mother in the lobby of this agency in order to request permission to search her vehicle. Ms. Chambers granted permission and signed a consent form. There were no items of evidentiary value found inside the vehicle. Laqecia Herring's cell phone. Here is Detective Don Odham's report stating that he assisted other detectives on the crime scene with the search and discovered a cell phone. In this report by Sergeant Pearson, Detective Pearson states Detective Odham located and seized Laqecia's cell phone and brought it back to the Leon County Sheriff's Office. During the evening hours of January 26, 2011, Laqecia and DeShon text each other. After receiving Laqecia's cell phone from Detective Odham, Sergeant Pearson manually went through the cell phone and recorded the text messages from Laqecia's cell phone as follows. 8:40 p.m. sent from DeShon, a.k.a. Sean. Damn, why old girl snapped on you, see? 8:42 p.m. reply from Laqecia. Cause that bitch mama ass broke and mad cause I wouldn't give her ass money and got mad cause my mama wouldn't make me give to her. 8:45 p.m. sent from Sean. Drama. 8:46 p.m. reply from Laqecia. Yep, it was, but it's cool cause my mama bills paid and her mama lights about to get cut off. 8:48 p.m. sent from Sean. LMAO, where you at? 8:47 p.m. Reply from Laqecia. On my way home. 8:49 p.m. Sent from Sean. Who gonna be there? 8:49 p.m. Reply from Laqecia. Me plus baby plus Sterling might be there. 8:51 p.m. Sent from Sean. What's his number? 8:58 p.m. Reply from Laqecia. His phone broke. 8:57 p.m. Sent from Sean. What time do he usually be there? 8:58 p.m. Reply from Laqecia. About 10:30. 9:30 p.m. Sent from Sean. I'm coming over there when I get. 9:31 p.m. Reply from Laqecia. And what time you get off? 9:37 p.m. Sent from Sean. One something. 9:38 p.m. Reply from Laqecia. Okay. 9:43 p.m. Sent from Sean. Let me know when Sterling get there. 9:43 p.m. Reply from Laqecia. Okay. The last text message sent from Laqecia's cell phone was timed at 10:59 p.m. on January 26, 2011. Sent from Laqecia to Sean. Sterling here. On January 27, 2011, Leon County Sheriff Detective Don Dennis reports that she, Dennis, obtained a court order for DeShon's cell phone records on January 27, 2011. Detective Dennis took the court order to Judge Fleury's residence and turned the court order over to analyst Leslie Rayburn. Circuit Judge Ronald Fleury signed numerous search warrants against DeShon Thomas. This document shows where Detective Dennis sent an order to have the motion for DeShon's cell phone records and GPS information sealed. Here it specifies provide geo-precision, GPS locator tools, latitude, longitude locations. This order for DeShon's cell phone records and GPS was also sealed. Judge Ronald Fleury signed these documents. Here it specifies sealed, done and ordered this 27th day of January 2011 in Leon County, Florida. Ronald Fleury, Circuit Judge. This document states sealed, affidavit, State of Florida, County of Leon, sworn to and subscribed before me this 27th day of January 27th by Detective Don Dennis, signed by Ronald W. Fleury, Notary Public, States of Florida, Judge personally known. Here is a copy of a fax cover sheet dated January 27, 2011 from Leon County Sheriff Analyst Leslie Rayburn to AT&T Cell Phone Company. The fax is marked as urgent. On this fax cover sheet, Leslie Rayburn is requesting GPS tracking of the cell phone, associating the cell phone subscriber as a suspect in a double homicide. Leslie Rayburn is requesting that she and Chris Corbett with the Tallahassee Police Department receive location updates every 15 minutes. Here, Detective Mike Reeves reported that Detective Don Odham and Cliff Couch were sent to the Clay Street address in an attempt to locate DeShon or his girlfriend. He was not there. DeShon was not there. She told him that DeShon had gotten into a yellow cab. Yellow cab was contacted. DeShon was dropped off at a tattoo parlor. The CAD report shows that on January 27, 2011, detectives were at Clay Street. On January 28, 2011, detectives were at Taco Bell. Detective Pearson and Farkas observed DeShon get into a green-colored SUV. Here in Sergeant Brian Pearson's report, Sergeant Pearson and Detective Farkas have observed DeShon entering into a tattoo parlor, stating immediately set up surveillance on the tattoo parlor. After surveilling the business for several minutes, we observed a suspect wearing a white hooded sweater containing Tallahassee Community College on the front of the sweater walk outside of the business with two other black males. Sergeant Pearson goes on stating, DeShon along with 3 adults and a baby leave out of the tattoo parlor. DeShon gets in the back seat of a green SUV. As the SUV travels down the street, Sergeant Pearson initiates a traffic stop. DeShon is asked to come to the Leon County Sheriff's Office. DeShon refuses to do so. DeShon and others are allowed to leave. Further, it states, a traffic stop was initiated. The female driver's baby was not restrained. Everyone was asked to get out of the vehicle. The right rear passenger then provided a Tallahassee Community College ID card. The left rear passenger informed me that his name was Sean, that he did not have his identification with him. Sean was identified as being DeShon R. Thomas. I asked Sean to also exit the vehicle and moved him to the rear of the vehicle to speak with Lieutenant Baxter. K9 was requested to conduct a drug sniff on the vehicle. Through the search, we were unable to locate any illegal narcotics. Detectives on the scene spoke with DeShon and requested that he come to the sheriff's office and speak with detectives. DeShon refused to come to the sheriff's office at the time. After the conclusion of the searching of the vehicle, DeShon was released from the traffic stop. In this Leon County Sheriff's Office release of public information dated January 28, 2011, the Leon County Sheriff's Office is asking for anyone with information about the deaths to contact the Leon County Sheriff's Office or Crime Stoppers. Here, Leon County Sheriff's Detective Cliff Couch reported going to the Cypress Point apartment complex and making contact with the assistant property manager, at which time he learned that occupant of the apartment was Trenton Ross. The assistant property manager provided Detective Couch with a copy of Mr. Ross's rental agreement and advised that he was the only person on the lease. Leon County Sheriff Detective Don Odham reported that on January 28, 2011, at approximately 1900 hours, DeShon, along with his mother, arrived at the Leon County Sheriff's Office and asked to speak with anyone investigating the deaths of Laqecia Herring and Sterling Connor. I, Don Odham, responded to the Leon County Sheriff's Office lobby and made contact with Mr. Thomas and his mother, Miss Chambers, further stating that DeShon declined to include his mother in the interview. DeShon and I invoked DeShon's Miranda rights, but DeShon was denied access to an attorney, and detectives proceeded with interrogating DeShon. This Miranda waiver form has DeShon Thomas's signature and his date of birth, witnessed by Don Odham and Detective McBride's signature. The form is dated January 28, 2011. Here, Detective Melinda McBride states in part, on the afternoon of January 28, 2011, DeShon Thomas and his mother, Carissa Chambers, responded to the Leon County Sheriff's Office. Contact was made with them and DeShon agreed to an interview. Initially, Detective Don Odham and I started the interview with DeShon. Sergeant Kenneth Gainey and Detective Don Odham continued the interview. I was called out to continue working on search warrants. Detective Don Odham reported that DeShon was served with 3 search warrants, which were for DeShon's cell phone, DeShon's shoes, buccal swabs for DeShon's DNA, and photos of DeShon's persons. Detective Odham reported that DeShon had stated Herring changed her mind and decided not to have the abortion due to medical conditions. Detective Odham reported Mr. Thomas said that there were no problems with Miss Herring having the baby since his mother was going to assist him with the finances for raising the baby, including child support. The baby would be his first. Mr. Thomas advised that he had not seen Miss Herring since last year, but she continued to text and communicate with him on Facebook. Detective Odham reported that Mr. Thomas walked to work at Taco Bell after seeing the news, but requested his manager allow him to go home since he was so distraught to work. During the interview, Mr. Thomas advised he was tired of discussing the incident and did not want to discuss it. All discussion about the case was terminated immediately with the exception of reading him the required. Here, Detective Don Dennis reported on January 28, 2011, Sergeant Gainey assigned me to make contact with DeShon's mother, Carissa Chambers, in the lobby of this agency in order to request permission to search her vehicle. Ms. Chambers granted permission and signed a consent search form. Ms. Chambers and I responded to the parking lot, at which time she unlocked her 1996 Nissan truck and allowed me entry. There were no items of evidentiary value found inside the vehicle. Here is the consent to search for Carissa Chambers' 1996 Nissan. This fax cover sheet dated for January 28, 2011 from Leslie Rayburn was faxed to AT&T. The message states, please discontinue track/mobile locator for phone number 850-459-0690. Thank you for your assistance. Please contact me if you have any questions. Crime Scene Detective F. Smelt reported that on January 28, 2011, a search warrant was executed by Violent Crimes Detective D. Odham to collect a buccal swab and take photos of DeShon Thomas. Here, Detective Dennis states, on Friday, 28th January 2011, at approximately 0900 hours, I attended the autopsy of Laqecia Herring, Laqecia's unborn fetus, and Sterling Connor. See Dr. A. Clark's report for details. Detective F. Smelt photographed the bodies and seized evidence. Detective Don Dennis also reports on January 28, 2011, at approximately 21:52 hours, Lieutenant Baxter advised me that per Captain Swearinger, DeShon Thomas was not to leave this agency. Detective Dennis reported on 29 January at approximately 12:06 a.m. I read and served the search warrant to DeShon in the presence of his mother. I provided DeShon with his copy of the search warrant in return. I seized one pair of red, black, white Nike Dunk tennis shoes. Leon County Sheriff Detective Don Odham locked DeShon and me in a room without our knowledge. We were not under arrest. DeShon was denied an attorney. I invoked his Miranda rights, and yet they continued to serve search warrants on him. While DeShon and I were being held at the Leon County Sheriff's Office, according to this CAD report, Lieutenant Tim Baxter was at Taco Bell where Trenton Ross and DeShon worked. Trenton was working his scheduled shift. On January 28, 2011, Detective McBride reported, Detective Reeves assisted me with completing search warrants. One of DeShon Thomas's cell phone records, one of DeShon Thomas's cellular phone, one for his residence shared with Trenton Ross, and one for his personal buck swabs. These search warrants were reviewed and approved and signed by Judge Brian Fleury. I, along with other detectives and supervisors, responded to Thomas and Ross's residence to execute search warrant. Several items of interest were located. Also, 5 marijuana plants were located inside the bedroom. Contact was made with Trenton Ross at Taco Bell, his place of employment. Trenton Ross was taken into custody and escorted back to the residence. He was read his Miranda rights, which he signed and waived. The search warrant for Trenton's apartment states, being the residence occupied by or under the control of Trenton Ross, and there being kept one or in said residence certain property to which firearms or any items or accessories associated with a firearm. Here is a list of several items that were seized from Trenton Ross's apartment. Items seized in regards to any clothing or shoes was that belonging to DeShon. A glass pipe, a small scale, baggies, and a box of 9mm ammo was found in the living room. 5 potted marijuana plants and a lamp were found in Trenton Ross's bedroom closet. Detective McBride also reports contact was made with Trenton Ross at Taco Bell, his place of employment. He was taken into custody and escorted back to the residence. A brief interview was conducted on scene by Lieutenant Baxter. Trenton was transported to Leon County Sheriff's Office. Trenton identified a Tech 9 from a printed picture. This shows a Miranda rights waiver form with Trenton Ross's signature, witnessed by lead detective McBride and Detective Farkas' signatures, dated January 28, 2011. Lieutenant Baxter reported on Friday, January 28, 2011, the day after the start of the double homicide investigation, that Trenton Ross, DeShon's co-worker at Taco Bell, had been allowing DeShon to sleep on his couch. Trenton Ross signed a Miranda waiver, which were witnessed by Detective McBride and Detective Farkas. Lieutenant Baxter informed Trenton Ross that the main purpose for their investigation was the double homicides of Laqecia Herring and Sterling Connor Jr. Trenton Ross willingly surrendered his cell phone. Trenton states that he remembered going to Laqecia and Sterling's with DeShon a month or more ago. Trenton stated that DeShon told him that Laqecia may be pregnant with his child. Trenton stated that DeShon told him that they, DeShon and Laqecia, were broke up, but he, Trenton, didn't know whether to believe him or not. Trenton stated that he was aware of DeShon being in possession of a 9mm pistol, which was later identified as a Tech 9 9mm. Trenton advised that DeShon had told him that he was a member of the Blood Gang. Trenton denied knowing anything about 2 text messages between his and DeShon's cell phone on the morning of the homicides. Trenton stated that he had consumed a large amount of alcohol and had gone to bed with Riley, Trenton's girlfriend. Trenton stated that DeShon arrived to his apartment around 2 a.m. from work and knocked on his bedroom door. DeShon wanted him to go to a friend's house to hang out. Lieutenant Baxter reports information gleaned from Trenton Ross's cell phone through Cellbrite. specifically a text message from DeShon to him. Trenton Ross stated he never talked to DeShon about his text. Although there was no search warrant obtained for marijuana or marijuana items in regards to Trenton Ross's apartment, both Trenton Ross and DeShon Thomas was charged with the cultivation of marijuana and possession of drug paraphernalia. This is 21-year-old Trenton Ross, Leon County Jail booking dated January 29, 2011 on charges of cultivation of cannabis and possession of paraphernalia. DeShon was also charged with possession of drug paraphernalia and cultivation of marijuana. DeShon was arrested and taken to the Juvenile Assessment Center. A few hours after DeShon's arrest, I was contacted to come pick him up. The summary of offense and probable cause affidavit is for the charge of possession of paraphernalia and cultivation of marijuana that was being handled in juvenile court. 4 days later, State Prosecutor Eric Trombley moved to the cultivation of marijuana and possession drug paraphernalia cases against DeShon over to adult court. Circuit Judge Karen Givers granted the motion. The probable cause affidavit charging DeShon as an adult on the cultivation of marijuana and possession of drug paraphernalia was not signed by a judge. There was no arrest warrant issued. Immediately after we left the courthouse walking towards my SUV, Detective Don Odham and Detective Farkas walked up and arrested DeShon. Both Detective Don Odham and Detective Farkas were in juvenile court watching DeShon's court proceedings. Before DeShon went in front of Judge Givers, Detective Don Odham whispered something in State Prosecutor Eric Trombley's ear. Here shows DeShon was booked into the Leon County Jail as an adult on February 2nd, 2011. The date and time is February 2nd, 2011 at 9:27 a.m. The charges for the hallucinogenic and manufacturing Schedule 1 or 3 or 4 and narcotics equipment possesses and or use. On February 3rd, 2011, during DeShon's first appearance on the cultivation of marijuana and possession of drug paraphernalia, Leon County Judge Robert Wheeler allowed State Prosecutor Cruz to discuss DeShon's juvenile record, which had nothing to do with DeShon's current charges. Also, State Prosecutor Cruz stated that DeShon was a suspect in a double murder case, and then Judge Wheeler states that DeShon was not going to flee on his watch. Leon County Judge Robert Wheeler was biased in his ruling against DeShon. Watch and listen.
All right, thank you. I do notice a number of people in the gallery. If there is somebody who comes up that I'm dealing with on the monitor here, and if you'd like to speak, I'll be happy to hear from you before I set bond. If you can just please let me know. Sometimes the attorneys let me know, but I don't want to miss anybody in case you want to speak before I set bond, okay? All right. Okay, anything we need to address before we start?
No, Your Honor. This is a direct file case, juvenile, but they filed it as an adult charge.
Okay, all right. Is this Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Thomas?
Yes, sir.
All right, morning, Mr. Thomas.
Mr. Thomas's mother is present, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Thomas's mother? Okay, ma'am. All right, Mr. Thomas, this is a direct file. My understanding is that you are a juvenile, and you are being charged as an adult. The two charges against you, there's the manufacturing of a hallucinogen, which is a third-degree felony, and narcotic equipment and possession, which is a first-degree narcotic equipment possession, which is a first-degree misdemeanor. All right, this was originally
Looks like it was originally in juvenile court, and then they filed it as
okay.
an adult.
Cultivation of cannabis, and I just want to make sure. Did it come through on a warrant? Has anybody set a bond on this?
First appearance required, Your Honor.
I didn't want to trump anybody else's bond.
Judge Givers looked at it and asked the court to set bond at first appearance.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, then let me take a look at the probable cause affidavit here before I set bond, and then, ma'am, I'll be happy to hear from you before I set bond. All right, I've reviewed the probable cause affidavit, and I do find probable cause in regards to the offenses. Ma'am, would you like to come up and speak to the court? I'll be happy to talk with you. You sure? I'd like to ask you a couple questions if you'd like to. I mean, I don't want to force you to, but you can come on up here and right up to this microphone. Okay, and your name for the record, please?
Carissa Chambers.
Okay, and this is your son, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And how old is he?
17.
And has he been living with you?
He was living with his friend for a few weeks in December, and, well, yeah, for about a couple of months.
Okay, and then, so he's been,
Because-
at the time of this offense, he's living with his friend?
Yes.
Had he been living with you up to that point?
Yes.
Is he going to school, or what's the story?
Yes, he attends Tallahassee Community College, and he works for Taco Bell, at Taco Bell.
Okay, and how often do you see him?
Well, he's going to be coming back home with me.
If he is released on bond, can I do you have a bedroom for him?
Oh, yes.
Do you have any other children at your home?
Yes, I do.
Okay, is it just you living
As
there?
a parent?
Yeah, as
only
a
adult,
parent.
yes.
Okay, and so there's a place for him to stay.
Yes.
So if I make a requirement of his bond that he come live at home with you, you're okay with that?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And let's see, what else? He can continue working at Taco Bell and going to TCC? He graduated from high school?
He got his GED
He got his GED?
back in February of
Okay.
last year.
All right,
So he's going into his third semester at TCC.
okay. All right, anything else that you want to tell the court, ma'am?
No,
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
you're welcome.
Okay. All right, Ms. Cruz, what kind of history do we have here?
He had some grand theft and larcenies as obviously all his history is juvenile.
Mm-hmm. Anything violent?
Has a burglary of a dwelling, armed, grand theft with a firearm, grand theft firearm, grand theft in a BOP. The state is going to request active GPS because he is a suspect in a homicide case, which is the warrant that they were executing when they found this marijuana.
Now, I've read the probable cause affidavit. Let me see.
It's that I not have that knowledge, not based off the PC, but speaking with Leon County Sheriff's Office, and as Mr. Trombley requested that we ask for the active GPS because they believe he's an extreme flight risk, that he will try to flee to Orlando.
All right, Mr. Camerata.
Your Honor, I'd ask the court to set reasonable bonds based on his the representation of his mother, that the mother is having him come back to live with her. If they decide to move, then I've instructed the mother that they would have to get permission before they could leave Leon County. Based on that, Judge, I don't see anything in the probable cause. I understand what the prosecutor is saying. However, whether charges are going to be brought or not is for another day. We have to look at what the probable cause says here today, and based on the two drug offenses, I would say that for the third-degree felony, somewhere in the range of $2,500 to $5,000, and $1,000 on the misdemeanor possession of paraphernalia with no active GPS at this time.
All right. Ma'am, did you want to say something else?
I'm aware that my son is a suspect in a homicide.
Well, there was, I'll tell you, this is what I can tell you in regards to that, and it's just what's on the probable cause affidavit in regards to his arrest. And the reason that they found these items at the place where he was staying was because they were serving a search warrant. The search warrant was pursuant to a homicide investigation. Okay, so that's all that says. I don't know what the extent of that is. I have representations here from the prosecutor that he's a suspect. I didn't know if it was him, quite frankly, or this Trenton Ross, who's his roommate, or both. Okay, and I can appreciate what Mr. Camarada says in regards to we're here for this offense today. But on the other hand, you know, the court can't operate in a vacuum, and quite frankly, if we have somebody who is a suspect in another crime, it's not going to be on my watch where he's going to flee and we're not going to be able to find him. So what I'm going to do in regard, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to set a bond, and I'm not going to set a bond that's reasonable for these offenses that he has here. What I will do for this bond is I will set a $2,500 bond for the third-degree felony, which is according to a schedule, and a $500 bond for the narcotic equipment possession. So that's $3,000. You go through a bondsman, and it'll be $300. But I am, due to the fact that this was a search warrant for a homicide investigation, as a condition of that bond, I'm going to require two things. Number one, I'm going to require that he live at your house, okay? So you're going to have responsibility for his whereabouts. And number two, I am going to require that he wear an active GPS monitor at this time until, and then if the public defender's office wants to file a motion in regards to that, based on how this other investigation is proceeding, then the court will hear that at this time. At that time, okay? So at this time, I'm going to require those two things in regards to his bond, okay?
What's the mother's address?
Your address, ma'am?
It's 3650 Lana, Lana, Circle.
Okay, I've appointed the public defender. I will appoint the public defender if he has not been appointed already, and I should have done that right off. So what I'm telling you is that these are going to be the conditions of his bond, as there's going to be a progression of this investigation for which the search warrant was done. Okay, you need to talk to the attorney, or Mr. Thomas, you need to talk to your attorney about that if you want to address the issue of the GPS monitoring. As that moves along, if he's no longer a suspect, then the court will address it at that time and use its discretion as to whether or not to take off this GPS monitoring. But at this time, the state has a concern about that, and there's an investigation going on. So I'm going to require that at this time so that they know the whereabouts of Mr. Thomas at all times.
Okay. Well, the thing is that, Your Honor, when I came into town on Friday, my son informed me that his ex-girlfriend was murdered, and she was pregnant with his child. And I am the one who took my son to the Leon County Sheriff's Office to discuss that.
All right, and I appreciate
but
that.
I don't have a telephone at this time at my house. So, from my understanding about past this GPS, does that require a telephone?
Yes, it is.
So I will have to get my telephone turned back on because I was in the process of moving. Because I do have an apartment in Oviedo, Florida. I do
Okay.
have that, but I also have my house here.
All right.
So
Well, whatever
I will
needs
get
to
my
be done in
telephone.
regards to that, I don't know. Is it just a cell phone, or does it have to be a landline telephone? Okay, we'll need to get that set up.
I'll do that today.
Okay. All right. Thank you,
May I
ma'am.
address him, Your Honor?
Yes.
Did you want?
No, I was just gonna ask for drug conditions, Your Honor, testing.
Bless you. I'll do drug testing one time a week, also as a condition.
I'd like to address him.
All right, and Mr. Thomas, your counsel here in the courtroom, Mr. Camerata, have you heard my discussions here, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you'll have the two. I've set a reasonable bond for you, and you'll have the two conditions that you live with your mother, and that you are going to have active GPS monitoring that can be reviewed by a judge based on how the investigation progresses and what your public defender wants to file for you. Okay, Mr. Camerata here in the courtroom wants to speak with you just briefly.
Mr. Thomas, this is Anthony Camerata. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You've asked the court to appoint the public defender's office, and at this point, we represent you on this drug charge. There's also information about a possible suspect in a murder investigation. If anyone approaches you concerning law enforcement's desire to talk to you about these charges or the murder investigation, let the law enforcement officer know that you're being represented by the public defender's office, and that they should contact the public defender's office so that your attorney can be present during any interview. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, do you have any questions for me, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Good luck.
This arrest and probable cause affidavit shows Trenton Ross arrest. This arrest probable cause affidavit shows Trenton Ross's arrest on January 29, 2011 at 2 a.m. for narcotics equipment possessed and used in marijuana production, Schedule 1. Detective Melinda McBride reported on January 29, 2011, she and Sergeant Gainey made contact with Riley and Riley's parents at her residence. Riley is the girlfriend of Trenton Ross, and her vehicle was reportedly the vehicle DeShon and Trenton used for transportation at times. Riley said that on Thursday morning around 0200 hours, DeShon came home from work and asked Trenton to go to a friend's house with him. Riley said that she stayed at the apartment. Riley said when they got back it was still dark. Here Detective McBride states Riley agreed to allow me to look through her cellular phone and view her text messages. Detective McBride states I observed a text message from DeShon on Wednesday, January 26, 2011, which stated, "Let's do it one time for the road." Riley explained she and DeShon had a sexual relationship that started back during the first week of January 2011, and it was only for about 2 weeks. Riley said that she and Trenton were having problems. She and DeShon were alone one night at the apartment, and DeShon kept asking her for sex. She finally gave in, but when she and Trenton got more serious, she ended things with DeShon. She said that is why he texted her, but she told him no. This voluntary consent to search Riley's car is timed at 3:30 p.m. and dated January 29, 2011. Deputy Clifton Couch reported on February 2, 2011, he interviewed Dan, Taco Bell manager, at which DeShon Thomas and Trenton Ross worked. Mr. Dan advised that he attempted to obtain video footage from January 26, 2011 for me, but was unable to do so. Mr. Thomas was, however, able to provide me with a copy of DeShon's timesheet. It shows DeShon clocked in at 18:05 on January 26, 2011, and clocked out on January 27th at 1:30 a.m. Deputy Cliff Couch reported on February 2, 2011, he interviewed Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones advised he was working with DeShon on Wednesday, January 26, 2011. He stated they closed the store and left at approximately 1:30 a.m. He advised that he gave DeShon a ride home. Also stated here is Deputy Couch's interview with Miss Mitchell, the Taco Bell manager on duty on January 26, 2011. She completed a sworn statement advising that DeShon had been at Taco Bell until he clocked out that night. Here, Lead Detective Melinda McBride reports that on Thursday, February 2nd, 2011, due to information gathered from Rontarius Connor during the interview with Detective Reeves on February 1st, 2011, she met with him to show a picture of whom they suspected to be W, the subject he advised gave Sterling fake money to buy drugs. Rontarius identified W as the subject he advised gave Sterling fake money to buy drugs. Also shown here is Lead Detective Melinda McBride reporting on Friday, February 4th, 2011, Sergeant Gainey contacted and scheduled an interview with Riley and Trenton. CVSA results with Riley, no deception indicated. Detective Dennis reports on February 4th, I met with Riley at the Leon County Sheriff's Office in regards to a homicide investigation. Riley voluntarily agreed to take a computer voice stress analyzer test. I formulated 2 relevant questions which were interspeed with irrelevant and controlled questions utilizing the zone of comparison test format. The relevant questions are as follows. Is everything you told the detectives the truth? Answer, yes. No deception was indicated. Do you know more about this case than you are telling? Answer, no. No deception was indicated. I advised Sergeant Gainey of the results of my exam and investigation and turned the interview over to him. No further action on my part will be taken and my investigation is closed. Detective